Right.
All right. So go ahead, Dan. What was the?
Oh, yeah, no, I was just wondering if you had a response to that, the issue that's you know.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody messengered me and said, Michael, what are your thoughts on, what Ariana said is people who say that, oh, is that really a condition? And I said to him, I know what you're talking about because I saw it. Do you have a specific question? And he wrote back, yes. Is that a condition?
I'd go ask another teacher.
So it can be answered either way, right? From one perspective, you could say, well, sure, all is this, it's something I'm imagining. It's I have an image of what this is. So it's, but the way it's used here, this is has the least amount of baggage. I could use God. I could use wholeness. It doesn't matter the word. And that was my response to this person. I said, there are no conditions. Conditions is a word.
Well, I like the word mystery. It's a mystery. To me, that's a coverall response. It's a mystery.
Well, it's more than a coverall response. Here I'm going to say it's the truth. Right? It is a mystery. Do you know what's going on?
No.
So,
I was just going to say, there's someone that thinks they know what's going on. The voice in the head. So this meeting is about, there can be a resonance that voice in the head isn't actually talking to anybody.
and what we could say, that voice in the head isn't actually saying anything either. In other words, that all the talking that goes on in the world is not actually saying anything, because there really isn't anything to say. The only thing that there would be to say is what we try to point to here, which is known as the famous "there's just this," but that can't actually be said in words. So all the stuff that's going on, that's why we call it a story. The story is what's appearing, and it's what we describe, and it's what we, build all of our knowing out of, our knowledge. But that's ultimately nothing. And all the words are just about other words. They aren't actually about anything that is real, because the only thing that's real is this.
It's not real.
Whatever's going on. Did someone say something? Yeah. So we try to use a word to point to what is quote unquote real. In other words, and even real, of course, it's not, that's another word. So, and the mind is going to turn every word into a thing that it is taking for real, but there's just this. There is just what is what's going on that we can't put into words. We can't, doesn't have a word. It's not sayable. And that's what we try to, that's why we're here, to talk about what can't be talked. And try to talk beyond the language, beyond the words. And the me is just this activity of taking the words seriously, hearing the words and building a solid reality out of them, so to speak. But that never actually happens. This reality is never built. There's just this. It's not, it doesn't turn into a solid reality that we can describe. Anyway, I don't know if anything I'm saying makes sense.
I think sort of to kind of go where you were going, Dan, or at least to have my own commentary, because I had listened to Ariana's what she was saying. And one of the things I thought, and this is my own perception or opinion, but a lot of times in non-dual conversations or things that people post and so on, there's a kind of use of the phrase just this or things similar to it as a cliche. And I kind of thought it wasn't that she was invalidating that, but rather sort of maybe pointing to that it's also used as a handhold, that we start using it like, oh, we all know what it is and so on. And it was almost like a challenge to be, for the willingness, if I could say this, to sort of even let go of the word, to not get attached to the word or any word, because you can use many different synonyms for it. And I thought the challenging to begin to look for yourself, if I can use that, rather than just use repeat phrases, because I think that a lot of times on many different groups, it's just used as, oh, it's just this. And I think it's just become a cliche, but it's not really, it's almost a phrase of convenience rather than just a kind of a pointer, but it can't be a handhold. So just some thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with everything that you just said. Yeah. And it's almost like if we try to speak about this, we might want to just kind of constantly try to refresh the language, just like do a reset. So it doesn't, because the mind that hears all of this is just always going to turn it into a concept. That's automatic. So we're, when we talk, we, as speakers, as so-called, we're trying to kind of counteract that. So yeah, you just make sure that we don't get too lazy or too, take the word too easily and, turn it into a concept.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we're doing that all the time, because that's all we're really doing here is just kind of counteracting this tendency to take words to be real or to be things or to have meaning.
Yes, the map is not the territory. The map being the words, they're not the territory.
So there is no territory, and there's no map, and there's no one seeking.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that differentiation. it's a little challenge because the map and the territory has served me well for a long time now. You just pulled the rug.
Yeah, there's no one seeking, and yet there is seeking, but for no one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could pull the rug out from that and say, well, but there isn't even seeking, you know, and you could just keep doing that forever, which is kind of what we do, you know. Somebody throws the ball up in the air and then we you know, shoot it. I mean, in other words, the word shows up and then we negate the word, just because, again, it's what we're pointing to is not in any form. It's not anything. And so that's why we end up a lot of the time just saying it's all energy. It's just energy, and there's an energetic resonance. But then, of course, those are words too. So then you have to cut those out.
I think that the words are okay if we know that we're just using language. And if we forget that, then words like nothing or seeking or non-seeking or, you know, then we start to get attached to certain words. But as long as we know we're using language, that's a method of communication, but to realize that the words are just words and not things, or, you know, because then we start to say this is a thing, or we start to make thingness out of it, and then we're back into the muck again.
Right, because it's the deepest habit we have. That's what we learn as little babies, is to attach meaning to language, and to all the words end up seeming like they're actually creating something real. So we're kind of reminding ourselves here that was not actually true. This illusion is the word that comes up for that. But it's a deep habit.
Definitely is.
Well, apparently, but if you stop and look right now, there's words, sounds appearing from the different bodies. But there's no doer.
It just happens.
Yeah, it appears to. So when I say there's just this, I mean exactly as it's showing up, literally. So everything is it. Everything is the aliveness, which is not the perspective of the me, because the me feels special. It says, no, I'm the aliveness, and I'm aware of all these objects in this world. That's what the me believes. But let's actually look at our actual experience right now. So the aliveness that you already are right now, can you find any boundaries to it? Where does aliveness end? So that means that if no boundary for aliveness can be found, then everything you're looking at, everything you're tasting, everything you're feeling, everything you're hearing, everything you're seeing must be what? I didn't hear you, but I read your lips, Lila. Aliveness, yes. So that's the illusion, that the aliveness is more here and not so much there, but the aliveness is just as much in the cloud, in the air, in the wall, in the carpet, in a thought, in a happy feeling, in a sad feeling. Aliveness doesn't have any particular way. So that's what Dan's pointing to when he says this can't really be talked about, because it doesn't really have a way, because it's always.
And we can't know what it is.
Oops.
You're right, and that's what seeking is. Seeking is really the attempt to know what it is. So the illusion is trying to escape its prison. I'll say that again. The illusion is trying to escape its prison, but if it's an illusion, that means it doesn't exist, so it's not in prison.
So we've kind of just repeated the move that that we just were talking about. Like we say, the illusion is the prison, and then that's not happening. There is no illusion, there is no prison. But at the same time, we talk about it all the time, even though it isn't. You know, it's like saying, well, there's just this. But even though there isn't even this. But it's just counteracting this tendency to think that there's some kind of knowledge, there's something to be known. And it's just, there's no knowledge here, there's nothing here. Or there's something that isn't a something, that doesn't have any boundary, doesn't have any condition, doesn't have, and then we have to stop talking.
What would be a distinction? How would you say, like, what is and what isn't? What's the qualification for something to be? Does that make, is the question okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
what
really,
we're talking about all the time here. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So, well, Michael, do you want to take a shot at that? And
Well, go ahead, Peter, you gotta define be.
Well, yeah, the addendum was like when we say, you know, this is and it isn't, there was like a more naive way of looking at it is when we start talking about something, there could be an argument made that it is because we're talking about it, you know, and then the question came, you know, is there anything? Okay, the answer, if I was pressed, if I was in school and I had, you know, to hand in the paper, there isn't anything. Nothing is. Or everything is.
all right, I got to give Peter an A+.
Wow, I'm honored.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, so the question is, what's the difference between is and isn't, or be or not? There is nothing. There never was. There never will. That it's just a game of language. That's why. And that's, so once you have the game, then you can start to make distinctions and you can talk about this and that and compare everything. And then you got your knowledge, then you can learn endless things about the differences between this and that. And you can talk about what is and what isn't, and you can have philosophy departments that endlessly talk about it. But that is all based on playing the game of separation, of difference. Okay? And
Yeah.
you can have the idea of existing and not existing, and the idea of, yeah.
Yeah,
But
something just dawned on me, because ever since I've been attending this class here, I could never really get wrap my.
I got to take your A+ away after that comment. Go ahead. This isn't a class, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm also not serious, but ever since I've been here, I remember early on there was a talk about nothing and emptiness, and actually it was Alan Yeager sitting there who gave me some pointers about emptiness, because I didn't know how to deal with it, and it was just dawning on me about the is and isn't. Like often somebody would say this and this and this, and then Michael would say, just check now, is there a me? And so I realize now that I lost a thread, but really it's around the idea of, is there anything or is there nothing? Because I always presume there has to be something, and so anyhow, you have to put me on probation then about the
Right.
grading. I need more time. I'll stay after
Okay.
class.
So Peter,
Peter's on probation.
Peter, so that question that you're pondering is or isn't, when Peter, let's say there was an answer, now what?
Well, that's a whole new option, that there may be no answer.
Either way, let's say you get the perfect answer.
Well, then I would make a dogma out of it. I would have like a hook to hang my hat on, and I would start operating from that assumption.
My point is that it wouldn't matter. The me imagines that when it just hears the magic words, the secret, something is going to change. So there can be a sense of waiting for something to happen. And I have very bad news. And we love you very much. Yes, Nkosi? We love them all, but we have bad news for the ones that are waiting. There's no escape. The me is trying to escape this moment. And this moment is everything.
The me is trying to escape itself.
So for my 6 words for the night, I was thinking about the Tao Te Ching, which I love to quote, and it really keeps it so simple. To define it is to distort it. And I just think it's a really powerful way to look at the simplicity of trying to define it or label it or categorize it. It's all distorting it. And thanks for the shout out, Peter.
Is distorting what cannot be distorted. So there's your contradiction.
There isn't anything to be distorted to begin with. Already.
Right.
Man,
You
this is
can
a
never go
tough.
wrong. You can't go wrong with already.
To define it is to distort it already, because this is a tough crowd.
And add apparently.
Like trying to distort the ocean or distort the sky or distort a cloud or some, I mean, it, whatever you do to it, it's still what it is. There's nothing you can do to it. It's just what it is. But language in a way does distort, because language kind of tries to say, you know, to put all this into something that's got an edge around it and doesn't change and yeah.
However, Dan, when you say the sky is what it is and the ocean is what it is, I thought we had an agreement that there isn't anything.
Yeah, well, it was just a metaphor.
Okay.
It's just a metaphor already.
Hey, let's ask Nkosi.
All right. Nkosi, jump in.
He's laughing at everything.
Tell us, is there a sky and is there an ocean?
Really, there's nothing here and nothing is happening. Unless a thought appears that says, oh, there's an ocean, the sky is blue, the wind is blowing. But right now, really, there's nothing here. There may be a thought that appears that says, oh, I'm James, I'm looking for this. I've been searching for this like for many years. But there's just a thought appearing in this nothingness. So really, I can say nothing is happening here already. And there's nothing wrong with what seems to be happening. All the discussions that are going on right now, there's nothing wrong with them. And this doesn't mind itself. This doesn't say this shouldn't be happening. Such discussions shouldn't be happening. This just doesn't mind. You can say whatever you want to say. It doesn't mind. It doesn't touch this. No word or no opinion can change this. This just remains as it is. Nothingness. Spaciousness. Where everything appears and disappears. Seems to appear and disappear. And as well, what seems to be appearing right now is just this appearing as that. There can never be any appearance, separate appearance. So everything is this already. Expressing as James, John, Thomas, Michael, Nkosi, So it doesn't matter what each character seems to be talking about or seems to say. It doesn't matter because all is this already. There is no escape. The one who seems not to be understanding and the one who seems to understand, the one who's offended and the one who's not offended, the one who's laughing, the one who's not laughing. The one who don't like this message, the one who likes it, it doesn't really matter because all is this already. So really, there's no separation here. There can never be any separation. Separation is just a thought appearing in this. It doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless. The thought may appear that says, oh, but there is separation. It doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless. Just a thought appearing in this. And there's no one behind the thought. So there are no individuals here. They are just thoughts appearing and disappearing. And this right here doesn't know anything. This is not claiming to know, to have information or great knowledge. This doesn't know anything because there's no one here. There's nothing here already. Talking is happening, listening is happening, thoughts are happening, birds chirping, bees buzzing, wind blowing. Doesn't really matter because everything is this already. And this is wholeness. This is everything. Nothing is left outside because there's no outside. Everything is this. So there's no you apart from this. And there's no this apart from you. You are it already. What is being looked for cannot be found because it was never lost. It is never lost. And there's no one to find it because all there is this. So a thought may seem to arise, doesn't really matter. Or a question may arise, doesn't matter. Or a thought may arise that says, these are all lies. Doesn't really matter. Because all there is this. There is only ever this. There can never be anything else but this. Wholeness already. So everything is beautiful, just the way it is. Even what seems to be a thought arising that wants to change what seems to be happening, it's okay. Because all is this, doesn't matter. Any So everything's this, and this is everything already. And there's nobody who knows anything here. There's nothing here. And this doesn't mind being called any name. May give this any name. This doesn't mind. May say it's a dog, mouse, chicken, dust. You may say this is crazy, but this doesn't mind because everything's this. All the opinions, all the questions, all the ideas, all the thinking, they appear in this and disappear in this. So this doesn't mind itself. So there is already no journey. There is no path. There is no one searching already. There is no one looking for. This already. Everything is this. And there may be labels that are imagined. So this doesn't mind. Am I too serious?
No, we're just falling under the spell. The spell. So really, if I can just, there's nothing to do. That's really the message. There's nothing to do, literally.
Yeah, so there's nothing to do even when this person thinks that I'm witnessing abuse of an innocent child. Still nothing to do. Yeah.
Well, that body may take action, but you wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Like something may be done.
I have a question, Nkosi. If we say that thoughts appear in this, is it really that, or is it that this or nothingness, whatever word we use, appears as that, rather than it being in it? It's because to me, like in is like still like a little bit separation, like, but is it really that this appearing as the actions, or a kid being injured, it's all this showing up as that appearance? Does that work?
Thoughts appear in this as this.
Okay.
Everything appear in this as this. The roof, the chair, the body, the floor, the sky.
So, Nkosi,
Everything is this already.
Yeah.
would you consider that this is this, or isn't it?
Can you repeat the question?
Well, before you came, we were talking about what qualifies for something to be, like something is and something isn't. And I'm kind of wondering whether this is or whether this isn't.
Both. This is and is not. No, really, this is beyond words. Words are limited. So it's beyond description. This is wordless. Words are being used in their own limitation, because they are limited. They can't really describe this. So this is beyond description.
Is the description also this?
Yeah, everything is this.
Yeah.
I'm just using the language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because in Dzogchen Buddhism, it is said that the Buddha is the frog croaking, the dog barking, the rain falling. It's all Buddha, just another expression, but it's very much, I think, very similar to what you're saying, just in using different words.
Even words are just this.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter whether there is talking happening or not talking. Doesn't matter. There's just this already.
Something just dawned on me again, that most of the time it seems like we're assuming that there is something. It's a widespread assumption. We move through the world as if there is something. And what's dawning on me is to see through that. Even though you may say there is nobody to see through anything. I just realized I always thought there was something. I was convinced of it.
It's something is that's this too, Peter. So there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but that's a big noticing. All right, we're gonna have to give you your A+ back. Because that is what the me experience is all about. It starts with the assumption, assuming that there's something I can know, there's differences that I can understand, there's distinctions to be made here and to be, and then it starts asking all the questions. What's the best way to, what's the accurate distinction to be made? What's the way to really understand, endless. But it all started with an assumption that there's something here real, and then there's differences, and that builds the story. But that's what we're pointing to. No, that never happened. It appears, it's an appearance to be differences, a difference between what is and what isn't. And but it all starts from the assumption, and that builds the story, but that never happened. It's not happening now. There are no differences here.
Is that what they mean when they say there is only this, apparently? The apparently
Yeah,
points to the fact that because, there's only this. I thought this is for sure, because you keep saying there is only this. And then when you
Yeah.
put the apparently, then that puts another.
yeah, because everything is apparently. Everything that we would talk about is just what's appearing, apparently what it is, but it isn't that. Because we can't say what it is. There's no word. And you just said that, or something like, well, I can be sure that this is sure, but sure and not sure is all part of the same thinking game.
Well, it requires a me to be sure of something
Yeah.
or not sure of something.
It's all thought, as Nkosi was just saying. And but all thought is just this. There's only this. And there are no distinctions within this, or qualifications or conditions or anything, but there is the appearance of all of that. And ultimately, it's impossible to say, but that's what we try to do. That's what I'm doing right now. We're all doing. But what you just came on, which is this noticing that there's an assumption here. That's the me. And that's what we also try to keep pointing to, because that's we don't notice the assumption. We start from the assumption, and then we look, and then we look at the story that's built from the assumption. But that assumption, yeah.
Yeah, we're taking the assumption like for granted. We feel like it's real,
Yeah, that's the habit that I was mentioning before.
Yeah.
Good. Well, you earned your A+ today.
Well, I'm going to sleep well tonight.
So at the beginning of this meeting, I asked a question, and I think it would be great to close with it. To whom is the voice speaking to? That voice in the head right now.
No one.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't so hard. Also, I want to thank, we got some donations over the last week, so thank you very much for everyone that sent a donation. Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
I want to thank Dan for the gracious grading today. So
Yeah, you got me on an easy day.
I just wanted to, I wrote it down, Michael. It's funny you closed out with it, but I wrote it down right when you said it. And I think it bears repeating that the voice in the head isn't talking to anyone. And it's really one of the more powerful things I've ever heard. So I just want to, hey, thank you for sharing that, but also just to repeat it, because I think it's a really clear, concise, just good stuff, man. So thank you. And thanks as always.
Thank you, Alan. And yeah, I concur with what you said. To whom is this voice speaking to? You could not pause and reflect on that too much. To whom is this voice speaking to? And then pause and just sit. And you may start laughing. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for coming.
Thank you.
thank you.
Nkosi, brother, thank you so much, as always. I'll get this up in YouTube in the next 24. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks,
Night.
Hey, thanks, Nkosi.
Bye.
Good morning.
Thank you.